This is one of the RPO or run pass option plays in the first series of the Super Bowl with the Eagles on offense. What you're going to see here is the right side of the offensive line is going to run block, and the left side of the offensive line is going to pass block. Nick Foles has the option of letting the running back, giving the ball to the running back and letting him run a stretch play behind the right side of the offensive line, which is a run that starts to stretch to the right, or pulling the ball out and passing it most likely to his left. I think the receivers on the left are going to do kind of a down and in. What's going to happen is, remember, this isn't the first play of the game. There's been a few different plays, so this has been set up by other plays. But basically, the linebackers and defensive backs are aware of this, and the two middle linebackers that you see, the two linebackers, the one on the right or at the top of the screen is going to go towards his right, where he thinks he's going to be defending a pass, and the other one, Van Noy, at the bottom, is going to go to his left because he thinks that's where the run is going. Essentially, this is spreading out the defense, spreading the space on the field, making the field feel larger to the defense, and actually spreading the two linebackers out and opening a huge hole in the middle. This is quintessential power spread, spreading the field to power up the middle. This was the first premise that Kurt and I were seeing in the 2000s, over 10 years ago. And they didn't do it with RPOs back then. Back then, there was no run-pass option. It was basically read option, and that was it. Basically, you were spreading the field with receivers, passing the ball all around the field, kind of like the old run-and-shoot offense or any kind of spread passing offense. But now you added in the read option, which is, like you see right here, Nick Foles or any quarterback standing in the shotgun with the running back beside him. And in those days, all the quarterbacks that were running this offense could really run the ball. So you would hold the ball on the belly of the running back and wait to see what the unblocked man. You would double team and block really hard up the middle, and the unblocked defensive end he would either come down on the running back, and if he did, the quarterback would pull it out and run around him, or he would wait for the quarterback to do that, so the quarterback would just let the running back have it and he'd run up the middle. And what ended up happening was there were many plays off of this and many schemes, and eventually they were spreading the defenses out and they were running one side or the other and opening up a huge middle. And that was the first time when Kurt and I said, this isn't about spread, this is power spread. You're spreading to power your power to spreading. They're dynamic opposition. They seem like opposites. Spread is finesse, power is power, but these opposites, when put together, are dynamic. This goes back to what Barry Sanders was doing. He was running like this in the run and shoot. The run and shoot was a passing spread in the 80s, and they were in the run and shoot with four wide receivers, but handing it off up the middle to Barry Sanders, and he was running all over the place because he had all kinds of space, because everybody was spread out. So it's a very simple concept. From this, I have developed all kinds of ideology behind this. Like, power spread is the exploration of space, time, and team through aggressive, flexible variety. That became the general rule of what this was all about. And now I can apply it to any sport and anything outside of sport, business or whatever. So, but just for the simple premise, the original premise was simply, this was never about spread. Football, there was a spread offense with 5 receivers in the 1920s by Rusty Russell. I mean, I actually know his great-grandson. So, I mean, football's been spreading since day one, so there's no such thing. Spread is a dumb term. What's the actual term is power spread. It's the combination of both, and now the NFL is using it for the first time in all different forms. Usually not a running quarterback, but you don't need to have a running quarterback. Then you can have a run-pass option, or you can have many other things out of it. A pistol, and I mean, there's all kinds of ways to do it. But the essential quality of this, the basic premise is, you're spreading the field to make it easier to power any kind of power that you want. And then when you start powering, the defense closes down the field, and now you spread it, and now they're racing to the outside again. It's like an accordion effect. You go out and in, out and in. Then you can start going deep and short, deep and short. And at the end of the day, you're just trying to go where the defense isn't. Francis Schmidt, a great coach from the 30s, used to say, go where they ain't. It's that simple. And he was a brilliant man. But yes, it's that simple. Watch this. Okay, see the offensive line on the right is run blocking. The offensive line on the left is pass blocking. Foles is looking. There's a cover two. The New England's in a deep zone. Everybody's back. Look at that. Two deep safeties. A bunch of guys underneath going back. It's perfect to hand the ball off. There's hardly anybody in the box up close. So he hands it off, and Ajayi starts to go to his right where the blocking is, and then he cuts it back because half the defense is going to the left for the to the right for the pass. The other half is going the other direction for the run. So Ajayi just cuts it back up, and there's a huge hole in the middle. Boom, right there. Big hole. He barely got stopped by Van Noy. Van Noy got his ankle, and that's why Ajayi was upset, because he easily could have broken that for a huge run. Chris Collinsworth is just about to understand and see what Kurt and I were watching and seeing over 10 years ago, and it's going to hit him. Listen to what Chris Collinsworth says.
Tackle to the 21, that's Van Noy, already off to a great start, who makes the tackle, gain of 6, second down and 4.
So interesting to watch these RPO plays. You'll see the defense basically split. These people going here, they're going there, and it leaves a big gap right up the middle.
Look at that hole. And believe me, you don't need to do an RPO to do this, a run-pass option. This is what the NFL does a lot. College football was doing this back in the early 2000s just by simple read option, just a read option. And you just pass the ball around. There's all kinds of ways to find these holes. And it doesn't even have to be up the gut. And there's what the pro offenses do somewhat too is you put like a heavy set, like 2 tight ends and 2 running backs or 3 tight ends and power up the gut, and then put in a 5 receiver spread. I mean, there's all kinds of ways to do this, but it's dynamic opposition. That's the power of the power spread. It's opposites that seem like they don't go together, but they're more dynamic when they do go together. And it's also the illusion of space and time. That's a little something else to get into, but you're making the space feel bigger than it is. You're making the field feel longer. The defense feels like they have more to cover. And also the time factor. When you do a hurry-up offense or no huddle or just a lot of misdirection, the defense feels rushed. They feel like there's less time, and the offense feels like there's more time. So it's all about perception. It's all relative, just like Einstein said. Einstein came up with E equals MC squared, and it's all relative. Power spread equals ST squared. S, space, time, team, and it's still all relative.
Once again, Jason Kelsey out front.